Hey everybody, it's Will. We're back with another episode of Creators Outlet right here on the Outright Geekery and Joker Fan Pop Culture Talk. We just want to give a big shout out to our sponsor for this episode, Spinwiz Comics. Spinwiz Comics is a webcomic and indie comic discovery platform with free downloadable apps for iOS and Android where you can read free comics. That's right, I said free. What are you still doing here? Go read some free comics today. Plus, they have a loyalty program for every page of comics you read. You get entered into a monthly, quarterly, and annual giveaway. Go check them out today. Spinwiz Comics at spinwizcomics.com. And here's just a quick sneak peek. And now, on with the program. Today's special guest is Derek Labat, who has his mic muted. Your mic is muted, Derek. Can you hear me? Let me see, can I? Let's see. Nope, that's not working. Derek, if you can hear me, your mic is muted. Your mic is muted. I don't know if you can hear me now. You just have to click on the little microphone icon and it will unmute your mic. Let me see if I can send him a private message here. I think Derek's having some technical difficulties. I'm trying to type private messages to him to tell him how to remedy the situation. And he's not seeing it. He said his internet was running very slow today. So we will have to see. Not sure what's going on. Trying to refresh stuff on my end. I know we had a huge storm go through here just a little bit ago. I'm looking at the private message and the 2 messages I sent have not been seen yet. Can you hear me, Derek? Nope, I don't think he can hear me either. If you click on your small picture down below, there is a little microphone icon, and there's probably a slash mark through it. If you just click on that, it will unmute your microphone. Okay. Maybe if you leave the broadcast and then just click the link and come back in, it might fix that. So Derek is the creator of a book for sale right now, available on Amazon, called Pies and Circuses. It is a long-running webcomic that he has been doing for quite a number of years, and it is basically a collected work of the webcomic right there. Hopefully we can get this part figured out. I don't know if he's seeing my messages back to him. Hey, Christy. So we're having oh, thank you. Enjoy shopping in the mall that is now finally open. So Derek popped out, and hopefully he will pop back in momentarily so we can continue with this. So while we're waiting for Derek to come back, I'm going to pull up some more cool stuff that's going on. And oh, look, it's me on the Outright Geekery page. So I just saw that Mezco is doing a very cool because this is like from our partners at Entertainment Earth. So we're gonna talk some Batman stuff while we're waiting for him to come back. So hopefully Derek will get back in here soon. Let me pull up a share screen for this, and boom, we're gonna look at Batman. Excuse me. So Mezco just announced this today. It's from our friends over at Entertainment Earth. That's where this page is coming from. 5 points. And it is a deluxe box set. It features 7 figures: Alfred, Batman, Robin, Julie Newmar, Catwoman, Cesar Romero's Joker, Riddler, and of course Burgess Meredith's Penguin. There's like a fold-out diorama of the Bat Cave. The bat poles are not real. I'm sorry, not as far as I know. They could be. That would be awesome. And I guess the outside is obviously like the cave entrance, and the front I think is just like a depiction of Wayne Manor. There's like, yeah, because there's Wayne Manor, and there's so that's pretty cool. And the heads pop off, so you can pop off their heads, except for Joker's. That doesn't work. So Riddler has a masked and unmasked, and same with Catwoman and Penguin. Batman and Robin, it would be cool if they had like kind of like snap-on Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson bodies, and then Alfred's got his like little mask persona. They also come with batarangs, bat sleep, bat radio, and bat shields. And there's the Batmobile and Batman and Robin and Alfred, all from Mezco Toys. They look great. Okay, granted, this is going to look a lot better in their depiction than it is in us, but I mean, these are just, they're like, only 5 points of articulation, but they're great, cool looking characters. Oh, they even give you the pows to put on the fists. That's awesome. Oh, the bat poles work. These are just like great looking characters. And it's not bad. The whole thing is $129. I'm going to add no, I'm not signing up on here. But, and hey, Derek's back.
Yay. Yeah. I fixed the internet there.
Very good.
As they blame Ralph, he wrecked it.
I was basically doing a commercial for Mezco, I believe, but I thought that whole thing was cool. So we announced that they did a press release for it today, and it's like $129.99, 7 figures, the Batmobile and the diorama of the Batcave with, I'll say working bat poles, and the outside has like a picture of Wayne Manor on it. So it's a pretty cool piece, and I'm a bat nerd, so. But on with pies and
that's the first thing I really show.
On with pies and circuses.
Yes, a strange book with a stranger title. Yeah. People, they ask me all the time how I came up with that title, and it's actually a take on the phrase "bread in circuses," which means cheap food and cheap entertainment. But I kind of figured pies are more lighthearted than bread. And like I say in the book, it wasn't my first choice for the title. The first choice I had was called West of Almost Nowhere. Almost West of Nowhere was what it was called. But when I uploaded the strip to Concrete Down, I was coming up with a name for it. It had been taken. So I came up with another one. I kind of played around with it, and I thought, okay, like I saw you pies and circuses. It's like, I can't say it's exactly how I decided to go with that title, but I did. And I started in October 2018. It was right in the middle of Inktober, or that thing that people draw every day. I don't know if you even say it Inktober anymore, given everything that's happening. But yes. I did the first few days. Okay, but then I decided I'm going to go ahead and do this because it's something I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to do a web comic for years. I had like a lot of characters lying around, and I decided to go ahead and just do it. You know, I didn't have much. I just had a few pieces of drawing paper, had some pens, a few pencils, had a scanner I got from the Goodwill for $13. And I just scanned it in. I used some freeware to manipulate everything and then just uploaded it. And that was pretty much how I started. And I've been doing it now for, I think it'll be about 2 years today, just about.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thanks.
And I have to say, you know, everybody likes pie.
Yes. Everybody likes pie. There's nobody that doesn't like at least one type of pie.
One thing. I've never met a pie I didn't like. Which is why I've been on a diet for over 2 years. Because you have pie and you're like, oh, you know, some ice cream would go really good on top of that pie.
Right.
Pat, how you doing?
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. So,
hello, Pat.
This whole thing came together. You started out as a webcomic. You used whatever you had at your disposal: pencils, pens, paper, and a nice cheap scanner, and you just set out to work and got this going on. And almost 2 years into it, how long is the compilation book been up now?
It's been up since June. It was June 15th is when I actually got it up out there on Amazon. And I decided to just put it on Amazon. It was a project that I wanted to do this year anyway. It was a print version. I was looking to do that. But of course, the world just went on its side. So I couldn't really. So I was like at the shop for printers and everything like that. This is the first time actually ever putting something like this together. So it was that. And then I thought, okay, maybe you can go to Amazon. You can go to Amazon and maybe just self-publish. Because I guess a friend of mine, she has Amazon. She ordered Amazon. She says the best thing that ever happened, because she just orders all sorts of stuff from Amazon. And I do like that too. And I was looking, it said publish with us. So I figured, okay. I took a look at it and I saw what it is. Now, initially the book was going to be 36 pages. And I was picking which ones I wanted to reprint. But then I guess in order for you to print, you have to have at least 100 pages. And at that point, I figured the way I figured it out to be approximately about 116. It ended up being 120 in the covers. And I put it out there, and they help you with how to calculate pricing and everything like that. And also ended up doing an ebook version. There's an ebook version available. So there's a print copy and an ebook version that you can get. And it's been out there, and people have ordered it. And, you know, it's hard because promoting it is real tough because you can't really go out to promote heavily. There's all the cons have very much been canceled for the year. And there's just so little. It's just promoting is really hard. But at the same time, I figured, okay, if I don't do this now, when is it going to get done? So that's why I decided to go ahead and do it. It's like I say, it's on Amazon, and it is it's more exposure than nothing, and it's a book out there, and it's out there for people to at least experience it. Because the web page, first of all, you have to find the website, then you got to look for the comic, and you kind of have to navigate it. But then when you have the book, you have it all there in front of you. You know, you take your time and read it and everything like that. Yeah.
Now, have you thought of putting out like the single pages? Is it set up like a comic strip from the papers where it's like 3 or 4 panels, or is it just a continuous?
Well, it's a bit of both. I mean, each individual page, I work on a page, and it kind of has kind of like an overlapping arc. You know, a handful of characters, they appear in an arc, or sometimes they'll be just like a one-off. Sometimes if it's a holiday or something like that, there'll be an arc. And everything is kind of on one page to where, and I've been told this, to where you can see everything I do on just the one page. You look at it and you can get it. And people say you can get what I'm trying to get to in 10 seconds just by looking at it. So I just uploaded a page at a time. So it's like a continuing story, but you get like one page every few days whenever I'm able to do so, you know, able to upload, because I do have a lot of other things. I did work. I was able to work for a while during the pandemic, and also going back to school for my bachelor's degree. So I work on that just about every day. So like I said, I do have a lot of other things happening right now. So I want to work at least every week. I want to at least have something out, put something out maybe twice a week, not on a specifically set schedule. I'll put it out there, and when it's uploaded onto the Comic Fury website, I then post the link onto my Facebook page, to the site's Facebook page, so that way you can check it out that way.
Have you thought about uploading like one page a week to like Instagram?
I've thought about doing that. I'm still trying to get the hang of Instagram. I mean, granted, I like Instagram a lot more than I like Facebook, but I'm still trying to, like I said, I'm still trying to get the hang of Instagram. I'm really just working out with, you know, particularly with just it's uploading the pages is like to where I'm like just snapping a picture of it. Again, it's just to where I get like a clean image of the strip. And I'm kind of sort of getting the idea of how I could go about doing that in my mind. It's just a matter of going ahead and doing it and just getting more proficient with working with Instagram to actually get it going that way. So that is something I've been looking for, looking to expand, looking to definitely looking to perhaps plan events to promote the book, both the comic, more the comic in general. And really just, you know, at this point, again, it's kind of just day to day in regards to in regards to dealing with like comics. So it's really tough to plan ahead as much as you can, because again, the cons are being canceled. Maybe shops, it's tough. I don't know. There are not too many shops around. So it's just, it's really just a matter of trying to get the marketing out as quick as you, the best way you can at this point. You know, it's really difficult.
Mm. Well, there's plenty of shops open by me. I'm up in New England, so our stores are you know, mostly open with, you know, all the social distancing and, you know, masks and hand washing and hold on, we're gonna spray you down with some alcohol solvent before you come in. And
yeah.
And I'm always like, okay, no, not that kind of alcohol. Yeah. I'm like, oh, no. But
yeah. I'm here in Los Angeles.
Oh, ooh. Under Newsom rules.
Yeah, I think it's kind of at this point, it's really more county to county, but Los Angeles County is still pretty restricted. They're starting to loosen very gradually. That's not to say, of course, I do know two shops that I'm pretty the owners of those two shops. So if need be, you know, I can't have an event. They've had events. They do take precautions, but again, it's just that it is, like I say, it's kind of a county by county basis from what I'm getting in the county, because it's the most popular, has the highest population. They're really taking their time letting folks in. But again, like I say, I do have other things on my plate. I'm actually getting ready to go back to work. I do taxes, so we're actually getting ready for the next year. And of course, I work in my bachelor's right now. So like I say, I go to really work on. So it's just even getting out to where I can meet with some of the owners of the shops is a bit of a I won't say a hassle, but you know, it's kind of, again, it's sort of on the back burner as far as other things I have going now. You see, so it's stuff. I mean, I am networking online, like say shows like this, and just networking with other artists is really the best thing I'm doing now
Oh yeah.
Again, it's sort of like how the comic got started. It's just, okay, this is what you have. Do what you can with what you have. That's kind of the best way I can sum things up right now at this point.
Now, did you grow up reading comic books, or is this something you got into a little later?
I grew up reading comic strips, the newspaper comic strips. My grandmother, she would actually save up. She'd only buy the Sunday paper, and she would save the comic section for me. I'd see her maybe about once a month or so, and there'd be maybe 3 or 4 weeks worth of comics there. I'd read them, and I felt that way. I loved cartoons. I really want to be like a cartoonist, sort of want to get animation. But then as I got a little older, maybe about my early teens, I started really getting into comics. And I mean, I wasn't buying them. This is like the 90s, and I wasn't buying them as a speculator. I was buying them to read the stories. I had Batman, I had DC Comics, I had Uncanny X-Men. I had Spawn. I would read them every month. I would regularly read them. And so I kind of moved my focus toward comic books. And I did that. Now, I didn't go to art school or anything like that. And I really can't do life drawing to save my life. Probably a little something, but it's not really life drawing. It's really just cartoons with me. So I have a degree in graphic design, and I did work in the graphics industry, worked for Auto Trader for a few years. Then the Great Recession hit, sort of bounced around little things. I did retail, but I did probably the best retail job I think you imagine. It was a store that had books and comics and DVDs and our own coffee and video games. That's why I say that job spoiled me with retail. And I also we were, and on top of that, it was like working with like one big family. We hung out after work all the time. It was really cool. And I lived in Texas, lived in Vegas for a little while, and then I came back to California. I did taxes. I've done taxes for years, so I understand. Like, people who work as independent contractors, you got to pay those taxes yourself. I see it all the time. But then I decided I met up with a group of artists on Meetup. I went there, and I hadn't shown the admin my work. And the first thing he said was, "There's nothing wrong with your art style," because my art style, it is really cartoonish. It's not traditional comic style art. I tell people who first come to the group, when we met up, I say to them, I'd introduce myself, and I'd point to all the books on the wall. I say, "See those books on the wall? My art style looks nothing like that." So let them know, it's okay. You can come in and like the Nirvana song, "Come As You Are," and that kind of gave me confidence to work on the books, and so that's why I did the strip. And I've had people compare my artwork to Sergio Aragonés, Fleischer Studios. Someone who said Rocky and Bullwinkle. I take it as a compliment. It's like a quick line style is what they say my work is like.
Hey, well, that's good company right there, I'll tell you, because
it is.
If you're doing basically comic strip, like newspaper comic strip style stuff, like a cartoonist, but they're comparing you to Fleischer.
That's what they see. That's what a few people they've seen Fleischer stuff.
That's with me, they're like, well, it's Halloween and you're dressed up as Batman, but you remind us a little bit more of Moon Knight. It's But I got a buddy of mine out by me who's a cartoonist, and he's in the National Cartoonist Society.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think I know one or two members of that.
Tim, he was actually the first guest on this podcast. I was like, "Hey, I'm starting a podcast. Do you want to be on?" And he is a hardworking SOB. He's got a regular job, and then all his all his off time is basically him in the studio pumping out a complete, done, full color comic strip every week, but ahead of time on deadline because he's in. Pardon me. He's in over a dozen different papers around the country.
Mm-hmm.
He's got, much like you, he started out with one compilation of his work, and he just kept going and going and going, and now he's got like 5 compilations, and he's used some of the characters in there, and he wrote a couple of children's story coloring books, and he's when we had conventions, he would probably do about 30 or 40 conventions or 30 or 40 appearances a year, because some of them would be like at local author society things. He'd set up like at the farmers market, and so if Los Angeles County ever gets out of lockdown, you have a lot of avenues, is what I'm saying.
Right, because there are a number of smaller conventions in California, Southern California, aside from the big one in San Diego. I know there's LA, there's Anaheim, Ontario, Long Beach, and I went to Long Beach in Ontario, and it's just like it's still an artist vibe, and it's just like be immersed in that atmosphere. It's like, sure, online they have online conventions, virtual conventions, but just to go out there, you see the people in costumes, see the cosplayers, the artist alleys. I didn't see any of the panels. I think I went to one panel at Long Beach, but that was it. But just at the farm, because a lot of artists I knew, they were in artist alleys. So I kind of spend most of the time seeing, talking with them. I know at Long Beach, I actually saw 2 celebrities. I spoke with 2 celebrities. One was Jeremy Miller. If you remember the show Growing Pains, I took a picture with him. He was pretty cool. The other was Butch Hartman, who created Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom. And one of my things is I guess one of my fandoms is retro game shows, and Butch Hartman was on 2 of them. And I didn't talk to him about his cartoons. I talked to him about the 2 game shows he was on. That's what I talked to him about. And I said, and I talked for just not too long. I didn't, even though there was no one around, didn't want to take too much of his time, So I looked at the price of it it was like $50 for a picture. And I say, nah, I didn't want to try to pay that. So then I go back to the artist alley where all my friends were, and I told them, I met Butch Hartman. I said, everybody I met Butch Hartman because he was a kid, Fairly Odd Parents and Nickelodeon and all that stuff. Who's Butch Hartman? And it's like, and I explained to who he was. They're like, oh, okay. They were like not impressed with him at all. But I mean, otherwise he was a good guy, But yeah, I mean, just that atmosphere, and particularly, I grew up in Ontario, California. If you don't know, it's not Canada. It's in California. It's about an hour it's anywhere between 45 minutes to 2 hours from LA, depending on traffic. And they had a convention. I didn't know that at first. And then I go, and it's like, that's kind of what I wanted to shoot for, because it's like, I grew up in the area, worked in the area for like 20 years, and be in an artist alley in a place where you grew up, in a convention in the city you grew up in, and back and forth. That was something, and I kind of wanted to shoot for that this year or next year. I mean, I don't know. It didn't happen this year, and I don't even know if it's going to happen next year. But again, I still, you still have these things you want to strive for. It makes you keep working.
Oh yeah. Well, you've got the internet has some good outlets going on for creators right now, and being a creator, it's like, oh, I'm locked in my house. Well, you're a creator. Do something.
Mm-hmm. Now's the time to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like any
what's
time.
Interesting too is. Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, anytime that I've gone out and covered a convention, I'll do like, a walk. Well, not really a walk around. I'm in a wheelchair. I'll do a roll around and, go through everything. And then the rest of the time I'm there, I'm in Artist Alley. Like I'm in Massachusetts, but I'm in Southern Mass. So I'm like south of Boston. And I covered the Rhode Island Comic Con last year for Outright Geekery. And I went around and, met a bunch of people, interviewed some creators, and then hung out in Artist Alley. Not to drop names, but I was hanging out with Neil Adams while he was setting up, Graham Nolan, Bill McKay, and on and on. Plus, a bunch of local like illustrators that I've known for years that are very hardworking. Kind of like the Carney. Some of the illustrators I know are like the Carneys of Comic Cons. They just they pack up their tent and move from town to town all year round. And now they're stuck at home, doing what commissions they can and trying to make their their presence online, bigger and spread out so they can, catch some work while they're stuck at home. And they've just started opening up a couple of small shows in the area. They had one in New Hampshire, and just about everybody but me, I know in the circuit went. And my LCS that I've been going to for over 35 years now, they get together with a bunch of other stores between Mass and Rhode Island, and they, because of the free comic book day being canceled this year because of COVID, and the companies were just shipping out books and being like, just, people come in, you got a free book. Yeah, there's a free comic book day book over there that we're not really having free comic book day, but there's a free book for you. Help yourself, one per customer, blah, blah, blah. And they go on and on week to week. My shop that I go to, along with like a handful of other stores, got all these books, all the free comic book day books in, and they held them in their back rooms. And they did everything on the 12th of last month. My shop set up, and they basically they're in like a business plaza. So there's not a lot of business going on the weekend. So they basically have free reign of the parking lot. So they set up like this huge thing. The owner's son has been working for Spirit Halloween for a couple of years, and nothing exists outside of Halloween for this child. He spends all his money on animatronic props and everything. So there's all kinds of like Halloween props, and they've got a big display for, horror comics since it was getting so close to October. And they had like four area, artists come down, and, they set them up, far enough apart so everybody was comfortable, and set up sales. And they had a great turnout. Everybody was like spaced apart, and they reconstructed their entire store to make it easy for people to come in and not be have some square footage between them and the next customer. So
shops that have been what they can. There's one shop I go to, and he kind of just had it's not very big, and he hadn't been open very long. I think he opened just before the pandemic started, but he's managed to kind of keep things open as he can. And he had free comic book day, but he would just have the books. You go in the little shop, maybe one or two at a time, and he just you take whatever books you want, and you go out. He'd have a sidewalk sale. We'd have some tables and stuff set outside. So, and even, Christy Shin, Christy, she was at an event. She had a table. Yeah, she had a table event. They just put the table outside, and she kind of just sold her stuff. So, people are still, doing what they can. They do tablings, and and everything like that. So it's still, so we're doing what you can out here, not other shops, because I really only know like follow 2 shops right now. I do know that one shop is kind of moving locations, so that's a plus. So there's still action going on as far as comics are concerned, particularly with local shops. There's still action happening. So it's still, things are still kind of moving and everything. So things haven't ground to a complete halt out here. And again, things are starting to gradually restart again. Again, at least in California and some parts of the state. It just kind of depends. Because I know, as far as the shop, I did do one event. It was sponsored by the shop owner who had his event outside. And what I had to do was I didn't have any print material at the time. It was in February. So what I did was I actually made a flyer with QR codes. And people could scan the QR codes, and the comic would come up on their phones. So you do have to be inventive sometimes, and everything like that. And another time, last year's Free Comic Book Day, I was kind of like a last minute addition, and I kind of had this one space in like this back room of the shop, and I kind of had everything. I lugged everything in my backpack because I don't have a car, but I take the bus out here. And I put everything in a binder, 3-ring binder. I had my laptop, which I didn't need, but I took it anyway. And I had some 4x6 cards, and I was drawing some things. And just the people come in, and I drew a few caricatures, like 1 or 2 caricatures. I drew some little Nintendo fan art for some people. Almost got one sale. The only problem is his buddies were like, man, we're going to go to the movies. We're going to go to the movies. We're going to miss the movie. And they kind of took him away before I could make the sale. So there was that. Also, that same event, I guess some people, they have connection with Barbara Kiesel, who wrote for Superman, was editor, Watchmen, The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, yeah.
And she saw some of my work, and she thought the penciling was good, and she liked the stories. But when it came to the ink, she took me onto the carpet when it came to the inking. But she told me exactly. But she told me exactly why, because I use microns, and since then I've switched to brush pens. Brush pens, I like it work better, because my strip is really kind of like an evolution as far as character design and it just work and how I actually do the art. I started with microns because that's what I had. But then other people, they saw it and said, well, you tried using brush mark, particularly after Barbara saw my work, and people said, have you gone to brush markers? So I went to brush pens. It works a lot better. So that's why if you see the book, it looks a little odd. Like you have a thin line for the first part of the book. When you get later on, it's like a bolder line. It's just because that's when I started to change the equipment that I used. It's all done on pen and paper. I draw it, and the only thing I really use the computers for is just to scan it. That's all I really use the computer for. And I know the characters, they don't look exact, like maybe like off model, but I know sometimes. But I've been told, what, don't worry about that. Artists are, their worst critic. But people say, don't worry about that. And thanks for, and again, I bring up Christy again. She said, when I first met her, I just started the comics. So it was over 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. I met her and I showed her some of her work, and she was doing a signing, and she was like, go ahead and go for it. Don't hold back, push the envelope. Don't worry about pushing the envelope. Just go for it. And I've done that. And I do use profanity. I say the book's it's not for kids. It may look like it's for kids, but it's not. I do push the envelope. I do show a few nudity. That's okay. I do that sometimes, only when it's warranted. I do use profanity. I'm not afraid of that. And it's interesting because when I had to go to Texas back in July, I had a family emergency. Actually, my aunt had passed away. She was a big fan of my work. When I post on Facebook, she just loved my work, and unfortunately, she didn't get a chance to get the book, because again, the book was done about June 15th. And she had passed away about June 30th, and unfortunately didn't get a chance to. I don't think didn't get a chance to order the book or anything like that. But anyway, I went out to Texas, and my family told my family about the book, and with Amazon I ordered a few copies for my mom. My mom was out there. My mom was in Detroit, but we were in Texas near Houston. I ordered it for her while she was there, and for my grandparents. It's interesting. My grandparents, they're in their mid-70s. They've been married almost years. And to see the two of them, and they're really small. They lived in LA for 40 years, but in their hearts, they're really small town people. And they were sitting there together reading the book. And I thought it was the craziest thing I'd ever seen because, I knew this wasn't my grandparents' cup of tea, but there they were sitting on their couch reading the book together. And I asked my grandfather what he thought. He said he thought it was good, that there was a market for it. He didn't like the language I used in the book, but he thought that was good. And of course, I had another friend of mine. She bought it. She thought it was funny. It wasn't her humor, but at the same time, she thought it was funny. And just get that feedback, from people. You doing this work, it's kind of a dream. And you get this feedback, and to read the book and just, it's like, it kind of things like, okay, it's like, it's real. People are seeing it. It's there's no real, it's hard to describe it. There's no real words to describe it. If you've ever been able to publish a book, especially now, because this thing could have easily ended up in development hell with because I didn't know, I don't even know if you can get a printer, if print shops are even open right now to even get the book printed. And I would have to find a printer, had to pay for a printer. And it would have been a lot harder than it would have been. And this way, there's a lot of content, 120 pages for $15, or you get the ebook for $9. And, and that's what it is. It's like, okay, this is real. This is going somewhere,
I know another creator that I spoke to the other week. He put his book through another website, and I think they're located in Florida. So you can buy digital copies of his comic for like half the price of the physical copies, and this company is a print, 100%. They're a print on demand service. That's what they do. And so, but I mean, even print on demand, you're paying only $5 to $7 for the book, and it's not like a larger book like yours, but I'm like, that's something to look into. I'll have to, I'll go back, and when I find the information, I'll send you a private message on social media for it.
Okay, that'd be great.
Just another avenue that you could look down too.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I mean, I like the Amazon setup because with Amazon, billions, maybe millions, if not billions, of people looking at Amazon, whereas you may not be able to get to a local shop, to get the book.
Mm-hmm.
But at least that way, hey, you're on Amazon, you may pick that up. They'll ship it right to you. So at least it's kind of a larger market. But of course, a lot of chance, if there's a chance where you get like print on demand, to where people who actually specifically shop for comics would look at it, that's definitely something we really want to look into.
And here's where I score some brownie points with our sponsor, SpinWiz. You should reach out to SpinWiz because you're basically self-published. You're an indie creator, and you have a webcomic, which is what they specialize in. So you could think about getting some of your work up on their app. I'm not the whole book, but maybe a page here or a page there, once in a while, just to get it in front of people so they could, so they could see what you have going on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, definitely. Again, it's just new avenues, I guess. And that's again with just networking, which is kind of the really the best thing people can do right now is just networking. You know, finding out all this different stuff. You know, and that's how I met the artists that I am with now, that I in contact with, is went to meet up and we just kind of network and social media and everything like that. You know, so. And I know one thing too, that you mentioned being a creator. I was at a family get together maybe about a month or so, maybe a month or two ago, and my sister's boyfriend asked me about comics. He said, "So, are you a DC guy, Marvel guy? Like what, you know, about comics?" And he said, "Well, what do you think about comics?" And you know, I keep my ear to the comic industry. I say it really is kind of, at this point, it's kind of like the indie industry. You know, the indie part of comics, like the independent era, maybe you can call it that, of comics. You know, a lot of stuff's going to be like indie books, right? And we kind of talked a little more, and then my sister, who has no interest in comics or anything like that, she said, "Hello, he's a comic book artist. He does that for he does that for a living or something like that." And it's just the fact that my sister acknowledged that you're a creator, you know, or somewhat of a professional. That's like, wow. That like, it's like, again, it just really like brings home that, you know, you're really moving somewhere with it, you know.
Yeah, that's going to be a good feeling right there, you know. Hey, he makes comics.
He makes comics. Of course, you're going to know about him because he makes them. That's what he does. That's his thing.
So, tell us more about the book, some of the characters in it, and how it's progressed from when you first started.
Okay, well, it's essentially called Pies and Circuses. It's set in this fictional town called Lower Manitoba, California. It is a take on Ontario because people say, "Where are you from?" And I say, "Oh, I live in Ontario." So, "Oh, you're Canadians?" And no, we live in California. And they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'd like, or some people, they would kind of make the joke. They know it's not in Canada, but they make the joke anyway. And that joke's about funny for about 4 seconds. So it's kind of, I had like a lot of characters. You know, growing up, I'd come up with characters and do the characters, but I kind of didn't really know what to do with them. So it's kind of a mishmash of different characters who live in the town. Live and work in the town. I guess some of the characters, I do have like a troupe of female clowns that are entertainers. They kind of get in, I don't want to say trouble, but they kind of fight. It's kind of like they do, you know, they try to entertain even though they kind of push against kind of political correctness. They're burlesque performers, basically. There's kind of 4 of them. There's one that I think like kind of, and I'll say this kind of my favorite character to draw is probably Marcy. Her name is Marcy. She's kind of like probably the first character I really came up with. You know, she's kind of inspired by women that I've known for years. And she kind of has a partner, Estes, like Phoebe, who's a clown with breast implants, you know. And there's another one, Shelly, who's kind of like a millennial, so to speak, but she's kind of looked up to him. And then there's their mentor, Betty, who's kind of like a mentor, who's kind of like a throwback to comedians from like maybe like the 50s, 60s, and 70s, kind of like a Lucille Ball or Carol Burnett or Phyllis Diller kind of type, you know, like a stage performer. And there's some of that. And then I have like 3 characters. There's JR, Max, and Mona. They kind of run a comic book shop. They run a comic shop, and they're also stoners too. So there's a little bit of that.
I like them already.
Yes, and but wait, there's more. Yeah, there's one character. There's kind of 2 characters. There's one character called Frank Strawman. He's a talk show host. He is a right winger, but the guy is kind of a mess. He's also a furry, by the way. He's also into that, but that's a secret. And then there's like a superhero, so to speak, and quote superhero in quotation marks. Got to get the camera here. Called Social Justice Person. He's there to save the day, whether you want him to or not. Yes, and there's that. There's the richest woman in town, Claudia Del Amo, who's really just the villainess of the piece, you know. And she has a butler named Kath Weston, who's he's part Alfred, part Mr. Belvedere, part Jeffrey from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know. And of course, there's her lawyer, Sally Billette, which actually Billette kind of translates to is French for weasel, but she's kind of like she has like a Betty Page hairdo. She's a lawyer who used to be a female boxer / MMA fighter. She's kind of a big brawler. She kind of bribes judges and has some judges in her back pocket. She kind of works for Claudia. And there's also a character who's like a crooked politician, Angelina Dalmaceda. I describe her as a politician with a bottle in one hand and a bribe in the other. And she did run for mayor of the town, but she lost to George Baskerville, who is a talking dog. Married to a talking dog in a landslide as well. And then there's, of course, police officers. There is one police detective. Her name is Princess Genevieve Flutterby. She's a police detective who is also a fairy princess. And of course, she has a partner, Detective Proctor, who is kind of the straight man of everything, you know. And Flutterby, she's kind of like Frank Drebin, Leslie Nielsen's character, Frank Drebin from Police Squad. She's the Naked Gun movies. She's like that, you know. She's really straight-laced, but she's kind of a nut, but she's actually a pretty sharp detective, more or less. And of course, they have their captain, Captain Duncan, who's really his character design is a toucan, which I kind of had for years. I just never knew what to do with him. And let's see. Oh yes, and then there's Noelani Narino, a ninja repair woman. She was a ninja assassin turned repair woman who fixes everything. And she lives with an old lady named Mrs. Nadu. She's kind of based on my great grandmother. And the older ladies, and like older black lady who's 96 years old and really can swing a cane like a baseball bat. Basically, practically crack your skull open if you're not careful. And I do believe that's all the characters. I'm not leaving anybody out. I did have a few other characters, but they're kind of extraneous. I know one character I had to actually kill off to make like a murder mystery. It's kind of a murder mystery, but it was kind of a weird take on it. So those are the characters. It's just like characters I kind of had playing around. I guess you can kind of associate with Animaniacs, you know, just characters I had around, that I had playing with, I drawn, but I just really didn't know what to do with them. So I kind of just came with them. Initially, the concept was kind of be like, sort of like Animaniacs. It would kind of be like maybe one-page strip. The character would appear in like a one-page comic, and then that would be it. They wouldn't have connecting stories. There'd be recurring characters, but no connecting stories. Then I decided to do connecting story arcs. You know, sometimes I kind of going back and forth. Then I kind of did a long story arc with Detective Flutterby solving the murder mystery. I did that. So yeah, there's it's kind of like I say, it's like a lot of different characters, and they sort of interact more because I mean, as I've sort of developed the characters, they do plan on having them interact more with each other, but they kind of stand alone for now, but it's really just establishing themselves is really what I've been doing for the most part. Again, it's been over a 2-year process. So.
Well, the way you described the two cops, the first thing that came to my mind were the two reoccurring police roles of the street cops from Sanford and Son.
Yeah, sort of. But I mean,
the goofy crazy guy, and then just the regular cop, you know.
Yeah, Smithy and Hoppy, that's who they were.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. And I kind of look at Flutterby. She's just a kind of a parody of, if you ever seen cop shows or the detective shows where they have the female detective, she's kind of just so straightforward. She's no nonsense. She gets right to it, and it's boring as all get out. So I figured, okay, let me just go ahead and come up with this character who's just kind of a good detective, but she's just kind of really out there. She's just kind of too straight-laced to where it's kind of funny. And of course, making her a fairy princess, that's just kind of a non sequitur, you know?
All straight-laced, everything by the book, and...
Mm-hmm. But she's also a fairy princess, so yeah.
So,
with wings and everything. Mm-hmm.
That would have been my daughter when she was 5. She wanted to be a doctor, but she also wanted to be a fairy princess and a movie star. So, and now she just wears a hoodie tied as tight as she can around her face and wants to be invisible. Teenagers, yay!
Yeah.
So they all sound like very distinct characters in your little made-up burb is quite interesting. I really want to go visit that comic shop now, though.
Yeah, it's an interesting shop. Come on, you got two guys. Well, one's Max is a lizard. JR is a gator, and who wears a football jersey all the time. And Mona she's kind of like a little fangirl. She's like a cat. That's why I decided, you ever seen fangirls? They always have the little cat ears. So I figured, okay, let me go ahead and make this lady who works at a comic book shop, make her a cat. She kind of looks similar to, kind of like my little take on the cartoon Crazy Cat. But and at the same time, just have them either if they're not working at the shop, they're either drinking beer or getting high. Either they're doing that.
Well, you had me at comics and weed, and now you're like, oh, and they got cold beer too.
Yeah, cold beer.
Count me in.
Yes, and of course, Marcy, Phoebe, and Shelly. Their burlesque troupe is called the Rider Pie Chicks, and they perform at the Hidden Quarter Burlesque House and Video Arcade. Yes, the arcade. Yes, a burlesque house / video arcade. It's a nice combination there.
Where you going, Junior? I'm just going to the arcade, Ma.
Yes.
Sure he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just that, I decided just to make something that I'd have fun with. I always look at it this way. If you want to, when you make a comic or a TV show or film or whatever, just make something that you yourself would buy. If you didn't make it or you didn't know somebody made it, make it to where you'd buy it. If a stranger made it, would you buy it? And if you say yes, then I think you're doing something right. And this is kind of the book that, right? And plus, you don't see very many humor comics out there. Everyone wants to do superheroes, either superheroes or sci-fi. That's kind of what everybody wants to do. And I figured the market's been flooded, and plus, I really don't have, like I say, my art style doesn't really match what people consider like comic book art style, But I just go ahead and do. You kind of just do the humor, and again, I guess people do find it funny. Whether I do have an odd sense of humor, I'll admit, but I'm just gonna do just do humor, make it definitely stand out.
Yeah, there's in the last few years, there's been so many overused comic book tropes. So where does your book take place? Another post-apocalyptic story. Are there zombies? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are there nuns fighting the zombies? No. Okay. Who's fighting the zombies? Oh, vampires. Okay.
Yeah, it's vampires in there,
or a ragtag group of people that can't stand each other, and they all have weapons. Who are they going to kill first, themselves or the zombies? And where a lot of that, yeah, or the same. And I'm not saying they're not good, but after a little while, you just need something different,
right? You need something. You need a different change of pace. So, like you see superhero comics. Superheroes taking on the deep state government or a big corporation, or they're out there fighting for for this or that. That's kind of a social justice person. That's why I came up with that character. He's just he fights for people he thinks need to be saved. And there's one part where people are asking him, they're off camera, and you're asking him all these questions. And it's like, no, you don't ask these questions. Like, I don't want to answer these questions. People are just asking him questions left and right, and he puts his foot down. He says, "This is what we're going to do." And after he goes through this whole spiel, somebody says, "What came after the first thing?" You don't want to give away too much of the book, but it's just you got people asking questions, and it's just the fact that how does this? You kind of ask yourself, how is the book going to stand out? How is your work going to stand out? Like, how can I tell the difference between work that you do from what he's doing, and what she's doing, what they're doing over there? Like, how can what makes this stand out? And I think that's kind of what we have to do. Maybe, some people, they think they want to sell for the big two, for Marvel or DC, maybe Image or Dark Horse or whoever else out there, But at the same time, it's like, you're not just going to be able to walk in to those places and say, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to write this, or I want to draw for this, or do that." This way, if you publish, it's like, okay, at least there's something out there. People are looking at your work, And I think that's kind of the thing is I want to put something out there to, if I am fortunate enough to reach a really wider audience, at least I want to say that, hey, I worked for it. There's but there's a progression of my work. People say, "Oh, you had a great progression. This is where you started. This is, this way, this way, this." That's why I said I look at it as just like an evolving process. Some of the characters do tweak the characters a little bit. Again, like I say, they're not quite on model. I really don't have model sheets, to be honest with you. I kind of refer back to my old strips to kind of when I draw for my new strips, So I try to do that. And it's just like, I just, like I say, just put it out there. Like I say, just go for it. That's what my best advice to people is, just go for it. See what you have and just take off from there. If it doesn't work, then okay, just do something different. Just try another.
Yeah, because in this day and age, it's like, well, I want to make a comic, but it's hard. No, it's really not. This is the easiest time in history it's ever been to make a comic book. If you wanted to make a comic book, if you want to try it and take a swing at it. You've got plenty of opportunities, all different ways you can go about it. So,
oh wait, I forgot one more character. I knew that just rolling off the characters. I don't have it written down for me. I knew I would forget another one. I forgot one more character. It's just that I haven't had her interact with the characters yet, just myself. Because if there's a narrator, it's really just me. I kind of am the character myself, but I put in another character. I call her Mistress Heather, who is a combination sorceress and girl, the cheerleader Valley girl. She tries to destroy the town, but she's actually incompetent. She's like a sorceress, but she's just absolutely incompetent. She can't do anything right. I haven't really had a chance to explore much with her yet. She's probably gonna maybe be the next story arc. But I did create her. She did appear. She had it was like an idea. Again, this is part of ideas I was just playing with for years. And it's just, again, put it in there, just to go for it. So yeah, she wears a cheerleader outfit with a cape, and she has her calls room and tries to work magic spells, and they always work. And they never work. They always blow up in her face.
It sounds like the magician from the old D&D cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing ever worked, or if it worked, it backfired and did just the opposite. So,
right,
well, like Rocky and Bullwinkle, nothing up my sleeve, and the lion comes out.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they all sound like interesting characters, and I like the idea that you're drawing everything old school.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a Wacom tablet, although it's just hard for me to really get into it yet, and I haven't really had the opportunity to practice because I've been busy with the real world, so I haven't had a chance to really sit down and practice with it. But I actually got the thing for free, fortunately. But again, I haven't had a chance to really sit down and try to draw with it. I wanted to do that. I really do want to do that. Maybe one day I'll go digital, but it's kind of right now. I'm really happy with sitting down with the paper and pencil and the ink and just doing that all myself. I may switch over to do something different with lettering, but although it's kind of funny, I had an artist. I don't want to name drop. His name was Rafael Navarro. He worked on Batman the Animated Series and some Scooby-Doo cartoons. He saw my work, and because I talked to him, maybe I would do the artwork in pencil and pen and ink, and then add the speech bubbles digitally. And he actually said it would look kind of weird if you did that, because I do hand letter and everything, although it's really kind of, I admit at times it is awkward looking when we compare it to the comics. But he said, it all kind of works together, like if you had the traditional pen and ink drawings with the digital letters, he kind of said it would look kind of weird. And other artists agree too,
Oh yeah.
There's a YouTuber named Ziggy Ghosh. I think I hopefully I pronounced his name right. He also said the same thing, and he does YouTube with tabletop games on YouTube, and he kind of said the same thing. It all kind of fits the way I do it now. It all kind of comes together. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go digital one day, but if people like the way it is now, then I'll go ahead and keep it the way it is. Give the people what they want.
Oh yeah, I'd stick with since the entire thing has been done traditionally up to this point, I just stick with that.
Yeah.
By all means, when you have time in between, doing taxes and all the school work for your next degree and work in the real world, what little bit you're allowed to experience out on the West Coast currently. And, just go with that. I think there's a definite big niche for this book though. Cause the more of 2020 we get stuck with, everybody's like, ooh, we're in the fourth quarter of 2020. What's next? I go, well, singer-songwriter died yesterday. Eddie Van Halen died yesterday. No.
Johnny is like, what more can happen?
And they're like,
just for our luck, we get.
Yeah, everybody's like,
we get overtime. We get overtime. 21.
Oh yeah, he's like, I can't wait for 2021. I go, you do know Mad Max takes place in 2021, right?
Oh no,
man! As long as
2020 is going into overtime.
Hey, as long as I get that car, I'll be good, But it won't matter. I can't drive the car anyhow. I need to get handicap controls on the steering wheel.
Yeah, somebody could make that happen.
Drive.
You probably find somebody who knows this guy.
Oh yeah, drive it around like the Millennium Falcon. Because that's how I drove when I was 20. So. Yeah, I know that. Again, I was born and raised here on the West Coast, but I did in California, well around Southern California. But I did live in Texas for a little while. That's where my mom's family's from. It's a place called Conroe, Texas. It's about half hour north of Houston. It's not a really small town. It's about maybe close to 60,000 people now. But it was always a really small town. So and I lived there, and that's where I worked retail, and I knew a lot of people. It got me close to my family. So I mean,
I've lived other places besides California. Lived in Texas, and I enjoyed it. It was really nice. And I also lived in Vegas for a little bit. It wasn't the worst thing. The worst place to live was in Vegas. I did that. And otherwise, though, I mean, I guess you just got to keep going. That's the best thing, you can do for right now. We just have to keep going.
No, definitely. The more shows like this you can, go on and talk about the book and tell everybody what you got going on. And the more networking you do, the better. I mean, I know next month Pops over on the Madness has another CromCon coming up, which is mostly not all, because there's been plenty of mainstream names that have gone in on the weekend, but there's it's a huge indie scene on there, and it's a good way to get out in front of people to let them know what you got going on, and hitting up that Amazon link.
Yes. On Amazon, you know it, you love it. Everybody knows Amazon now, and they'll ship it right to your home. They'll bring the book to your home, or you can get the ebook copy. It's $14.99 for the print book, $8.99 for the ebook version.
And the link for Amazon is in the show notes, either up above or down below, depending on where you're watching us, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. Now, where do you like people following you online, Derek?
I mean, you can go to the Pies and Circuses Facebook page. Just type in Pies and Circuses, and it'll bring it up, and just click like, and you'll get the updates on everything. And there's also a pinned link to the book there. So if you go to the Pies and Circuses Facebook page, you can click the link, and you can go ahead and click there. You can like the page, and at the top there should be a link to the book to the Amazon, to where you can purchase the book. I am also on Instagram. It's my first and last name, Derek Labat. I'm right there. Usually at. I am going to Pies and Circuses Instagram. I kind of in the process of that right now, so that should be coming up pretty soon in the next few weeks or so. That should be coming up. Again, go through the Facebook page, and I'll go ahead and let everybody know when that is up. In the meantime, also go to comicfury.com. That's where the new pages, the new comics come up. I try to do at least once a week, maybe twice a week, depending on my schedule. So I can also post a link there. And also, go to the Facebook page. It kind of shows all the new list stuff from Pies and Circuses. So you can go ahead and they'll keep you up to date right there. So that's kind of the best thing to do right now. So either Facebook or Instagram right now. I avoid Twitter like the plague. I don't want any part of that. I did it once. It was okay. I did it I had a personal Twitter page. It was, but then I've seen everything. It's like, no, thank you. I don't want to go back there. I don't want to do that.
I use Twitter just for certain networking of other shows like this, that we've some of our friends over at Lost in Comics on YouTube post on Twitter, but they're like me, I'm in and I'm out. I'll post one thing. If I see somebody respond to something, look, if it's somebody I know, I'll look to see what they wrote. I'm like, oh yeah, I ain't got time for this BS today. And I spent a lot of time in like the last 4 years, basically swiping left on life. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with this. Oh, comics. Okay, there I am.
No.
You know, I'll go up and because I put this show, you know, up on YouTube, I will share the YouTube link on Twitter with you know, a quick write up, and I'll tag other comic book shows on YouTube that transverse with Twitter to just put up, you know, their, you know, new comic book day posts, or you know, new show coming up, or, you know, what have you, and I'll put it up there. I'll tag them. I'll tag our sponsor, Spinwiz Comics, and if they're working for, you know, if it's not self-published like you are, I'll put, you know, if it's somebody from Scout, I'll tag the guys at Scout, because I'm also the content distributor manager over at Outright Geekery, so I get to talk to the mainstream publishers all the time. Well,
okay.
The most mainstream publisher I get to talk to is Image. Yeah,
okay.
You know, Marvel and DC don't talk to us, and you know, I'm kind of fine with that. I'm like, whatever. And and for the most part, all the other big ones do. You know, we talk every week. I talk to Image, Dynamite, AWA, TKO, Vault, Scout, and you know, the list goes on, because every time I turn around, there's like, you know, 10 new publishers, you know. But you know, for the most, you know, outside of like, you know, Image, Dynamite, Dark Horse, and Boom, anything besides those four, as far as I'm concerned, a small press. Because they're, you know, they're fairly new, you know, 4 or 5 years, you know, publishing under that modicum, but I mean, they're putting out great stuff, and you know, every time you turn around, one of these smaller publishers is getting signed to a media deal. You know, Mosaic just signed with Scout to you know, have first opportunity to, you know, go forward to do anything, you know, movie, TV, or anime for all of their IPs. So, you know, if you thought the last 5 years with comic book movies, TVs, and animated series were good, I hope you really liked it, because apparently for the next 20 years, all we're going to have is comic book IP properties being developed straight into, you know, TV and movies. You know, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because, you know, especially if you're a horror fan, because there's a lot of horror stuff that's up, horror and sci-fi stuff that are up, and you know, a bunch of other stuff. But so it's a good time to be a comic fan.
Right. So it's kind of more like people saying hearing gloom and doom, but at the same time, it's kind of really like wide open. It's like kind of like maybe the Wild West, you know.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's a crazy time. We all want to get through this, and you know, go back to doing normal stuff. You know, not walking around like we're gonna knock off the, you know, not gonna go. You know, we're not going to knock off the bank. We're just wearing these masks so our local municipalities don't fine us $1,000 or $100 or somewhere in between for not wearing one. But you know, it is what it is, and you know, in the bottom of the day, you know, we still got comics, and you've got a very different platform as far as that goes. More of a cartoon, more of a, you know, our cartoony animated strip that has more than its fair share of humor in it, just from the description of the characters. I mean, it all sounds great, and I hope that next year that we don't get Mad Max, and instead start getting some conventions, so you can get out there with this and meet more people, like Barbara Kessel, that will come up and yell at you for something, and
yeah. Said it was worth it. I guess some of them said that she had done that to everybody in the group, so it was just my turn. So, but anyway, it was great. I mean, again, she said the inking was the issue, and I did the inking. I changed it, and I'm very happy with it. So I'm glad she did save it, and that she did bring the inking to my attention.
Inking can make or break a book.
I kind of figured that out when I was 12, and a friend of mine, we were trying to make our own books. We figured, okay, good drawing can cover up bad writing, good inking can cover up bad drawing, bad pencils, bad inking, you're screwed.
Well, most of the good ink, most of the top line inkers, they're, people are like, oh, you just tracing. No, they're not. Inkers are actually artists, and they're at a level of their artistry so they can save what might be, a bad panel. And if it's a bad panel in the beginning of the book, it could turn off a reader to never go back to that book. So, it's a good thing I had the opportunity to become a fanboy convention friend with Joe Sinat before he passed earlier this year. Freaking 2020. But I got to talk to him, and he was just, he was a great guy. We talked at length. I even got an original art piece. So I actually have two now, but I've had a few inkers on the show, and we've all, I've always brought this up, and they've laid out their wisdom from, their point of views from their careers. Mark McKenna's been on, and Scott's been on, Scott Hanna's been on, and a couple other people. But yeah, definitely, inking is definitely a lot more important than most people give credit to. They're most inkers aren't actually inkers. They are known as embellishers, because they get embellishers because they get to fix your shit. Sometimes you're like, I gotta hurry up, deadline. What the hell? Oh. So that's why many times, especially in Silver Age Marvel, you'll see that Joe Sinat and a few other of the big heavy hitter names all have contributing credits to their names on the book, not just as the inker, but contributing artist credits too. So it's pretty interesting all in all. I'm just rambling now because I'm out of coffee.
Out of coffee, yes. Coffee is nectar of the gods. Coffee.
Oh yeah, I can live without a lot of things. Coffee is not one of them. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight and telling us all about
thank you
your
for
book,
having me.
Pie and Circuses. Make
Thank
sure you
you.
go Yeah, anytime. Make sure you check out Pie and Circuses page on Facebook. There is a pinned link at the top of that page to take you over to Amazon for the book. There is also a pinned. It's not a pinned link. It's just in the show notes. The link for the Amazon page for Pies and Circuses is either up above or down below in the show notes. And you can follow Derek at Derek Labat right there. You can see it on the screen at Instagram. So until next time, this is Will. Derek, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Good luck with Pies and Circuses in the year of COVID.